Hi, class. I am getting ready to go through a brainstorming activity to help you write your longer paper. I'm not going off a script this time, so bear with me if I make some mistakes. so, we're going to be starting by thinking about how we can start developing longer papers. And you already have the skills to do that, but I may walk you through it so you can see how. So, to begin with, I think for this research paper, it's a good idea to start with your own stories. So, for me, one of the topics that I wrote about at one point was my identity as a teacher. So, I began starting to think of stories I had of being a teacher and just started listing them. I'm assuming I'm not going to use all of them, but coming up with a big list, again, it's about when we do invention, we want to generate a lot of ideas, pick one, and test one. With this, we may end up picking more. But I have a number of stories. A story about an experience with another teacher, my experience of screwing up grades on Moodle, my first time using Moodle grades. One time I taught with my the back of my dress unzipped, and I didn't realize it till I got home. And man, that was a vulnerable moment. My plagiarism dungeon story about a student who plagiarized, and I had to confront in my sad little dungeon-like office. I've had so many students cry in my office, and I've had so many students help. I've helped so many students get scholarships, and so these are just some stories that I think of as my in my life as a teacher. Once I have those different stories, I think a good idea from there is to start looking for different themes that kind of pop up as we look at them. So a theme I noticed was human connection and care, vulnerability. That experience of teaching with my dress unzipped unknowingly, man, that's a vulnerable place to be as a teacher, and that kind of stuff happens. Leading with kindness, that's really important to me in my teaching. Mistakes, I make lots of mistakes, and my students do too. One of the things that I came to at the end is like, oh, I wonder why I don't have any themes that popped up about the subject matter of writing and studying English. It's an interesting question. And it might be something that I'll have to think about as I get into it. Once I have developed a few themes that I've noticed within all of my all the stories that I came up with, I wanted to look for something that they all have in common. And as I looked through it, I decided that word care is a good word that can maybe unite all of the different themes that show up in my personal stories. Having that one theme to kind of lean on will be helpful when we get to the point of trying to bring together a lot of different pieces, and especially as we're writing thesis statements later on. So finding that theme at some point, you don't necessarily have to do it now, but at some point that could be helpful. It could also help you as you're working on developing subtopics and keyword searches when you get into your research. Something that I did after this is I went through and tried to explore the relationship between the themes and the sub-themes. And so the major theme being care, my teaching is really about caring. I care about students' well-being. I care about students' mistakes. I care about the subject matter of English and learning how to write well. And with the mistakes and the vulnerability, those kinds of stories, I realized if I didn't care, it wouldn't matter. So it's that one's kind of an interesting one. I don't think I ended up writing about that because it was more complicated than I expected, but it's still an interesting thing that came out of this process. Then I went through and started organizing my examples under each of the sub-themes. So I could write about, you know, the plagiarism mistake, the student success. I had various students getting into med school, a social work program, various things like that that I help students do. My students' well-being, I've had lots of students come to me and sort of bare their soul, and it always makes me feel very privileged that they feel safe coming to me, that they can tell that I actually do care. And so that's really rewarding for me. With the subject matter, I noticed that I didn't actually have any stories about the subject matter of English. So I was thinking, well, I could always do something about reading students' papers because that's a big part of my life, and I probably have some stories somewhere up in my brain. I don't know. I might have to look for them though. So getting those examples organized is helpful. And so what I've done is I actually removed one of the assignments I originally had put into this week. And instead, I suggested that you try to do this process as an invention activity to start getting you working. This might not directly lead to your discovery draft, which you'll be working on this week, as your other invention activities have. But I hope that it's helpful for you as we get into research and start trying to figure out how to develop these longer papers. And hang on to that, and because I have 2 more lectures coming up that are going to build on this. So thank you so much. I will talk to you later, and happy writing.